Hello everyone and welcome back to Learn2Play TV, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Heroclix. This is going to be our first video in the series, and I went out and got the Avengers minigame set to help me go over teaching you the game. You could also go and pick up a starter set, which is also highly recommended. When you do purchase one of these sets, you get your 4 characters out of the minigame. The starter set, I believe you get 7. You get 2 dice. You get your powers and abilities card. Now this card here is going to go through all of your abilities and your powers and your team abilities and really flesh out the game, but we're going to go over that later. That's not necessarily needed exactly for learning the game and starting it out. You're also going to get your character cards. These cards are very important. They go along with your actual characters and they tell you what abilities and powers they can use. So that's always good to have those. Make sure you have those. Some things you don't get in the minigame set that you do get in the starter set are special terrain markers and objects. So we have our heavy objects and our light objects. The special terrain markers aren't necessarily needed to learn the game, but they're good to have later on when you start really getting into your powers, abilities, and building your teams. But you will need some objects, so if you do end up getting a mini set, you can do what I did, and I just went to my local comic shop, and they actually sell these for fairly cheap. Or in the starter set, it actually comes with a sheet of these. These sets also come with a map, and in the starter set, you get a much bigger map here. This is a 2 by 3 foot map here. Pretty standard when you're playing Heroclix, but in the minigame set, you get a little smaller one, but it does the same thing. You will need some action and movement markers. So I use little dice. I prefer to use these, and we'll get a little bit more into that on what these actually do and the point they hold in the game. Some people like to use poker chips, which work very well. Really easy to slip under the dial. I've even played with people that use pennies. But we'll get a little bit more into that on why these are important. Just have some sort of a marker that you can use for your characters available. Now that you have an understanding on what you need to play the game, let's go ahead and get into these dials and how we read these. So a couple of things we notice right off the bat is you have the name of the character, you have their team ability, you have the point value they cost, the set they came from, their set number. So this Iron Man is number 3 in the set. And this is the most important part of the dial that you're really going to be using. These symbols here all represent a specific ability that you use throughout the game. This top one here, the wing that you see, is your movement. So the number that is right on the side of that symbol is how many spaces this character can move across the board. The symbol below it, the fist, is his attack value. So the number that's next to it is the value that you're going to be using against your opponent in order to hit them with an attack. The next symbol, the shield, is your defense value. So the number next to it shows you how much defense this character has, so that when an opponent goes to attack you, this is the defense that you have to protect yourself. The explosion on the side over here is your actual damage. So when you make a successful attack on an opponent, the number that's next to that symbol is how many clicks of damage that opponent receives from your attack. The last symbol that we have here, the number 8, is the range. So this allows you to make a range attack. So Iron Man can actually attack someone from 8 squares away. And the lightning bolt is how many targets he can attack. So 1 lightning bolt, 1 target. Other characters have up to 2, 3, and I believe there are a couple that have 4 characters, but you'll have multiple lightning bolts for each one of those. The dial itself that he is on is your life, for example. So how this works, and one reason why they're called Heroclix, is when you take damage, you just turn the base, that many clicks of your life, and as you see, the numbers that show up next as you go along the dial change in colors. Now these are your powers and abilities, and that's where your character cards come into play to tell you what abilities that you can use on that particular dial or that click. to help strengthen your forces as you take damage in battle. And the end all is the KO line. So when you finally reach this KO line, your character is now knocked out and is removed from the game. Now that we have a decent understanding on how to read the dial, I did want to go ahead and give you a quick little overview on how you read the character card with those particular dials. As you turn the dial, you notice that the colors change based off of the stats on that particular click. So for example, how you read this, his movement, you notice he has purple. Well, you pull your character card and you go and you match up those symbols, and we notice that he has Force Blast. Now, we won't go too much into what exactly each one of these abilities are. We will get into that later on in the series, and that's where the Power and Abilities card really takes place. But this is just an idea, so when you do get to that point, you have an idea of why these character cards are very important, and what the dials do, and how your powers change, and how you read these. So now you have a decent understanding on how to read the dials. Let's go ahead and let's get into the setup in this game. And for this video, we're going to sit with a 300-point game. Now, that's pretty standard, especially with tournaments that you go to at different venues. 300 points is pretty standard. You can do more. I have played teams all the way up to 800-900 points. You can go as high as you want. So whatever you and your opponent decide to play against, or the venue plays against, just go ahead and build your team off of that. Now, what is the point value? Well, the point value is essentially like your spending money. So each one of your characters has a specific point value. So let's take Iron Man here, for example. And his point value, or his cost, is 200 points. So he's a pretty high cost player. So at 300 point team, we're going to have to find at least 100 points to fill that in and actually build a team to partner with him. So let's see who we have that is around 100 points. So we have Hulk here at 150, so that'll put us over 300, so we can't team them together. Thor is 140, so he's still over there, so we can't do anything with him. And now Captain America, he's at exactly 100 points. So we're going to make these two a team, so it's going to be Iron Man and Cap. And let's go ahead and have them be Team 1. And then we're going to go ahead and team up Thor and the Hulk over here for Team 2. Now that we've set up teams, we just need to decide who's going to go first. So each one of you, you're going to take 2d6 and you're going to roll. Whoever has the highest number goes first. They also get to pick the map. For this video, we only have the one map, so we're going to stick with this one. But when you are playing your friends and at the tournaments, if you end up winning the first player roll, you get to choose the map. So let's go ahead and take a look, see what we get. Team 2 is going to go first. They roll a 4, and Team 1 rolls a 10. So Team 1 will go first. Team 2, since they did lose the roll, they get the choice to choose which starting area that they go to first, and then the first player takes the other starting area that's not been chosen. Now let's familiarize ourselves with the map. Starting areas are always located in a purple bounding box, and this is an area that you are just going to set up your team before the game starts. So Team 2 lost the roll. He's going to go ahead and choose which side they want to start on. So we're just going to go ahead and take this side over here, and we're going to place our Team 2 in the starting area here. And Team 1 will take the opposite side. A couple other areas that we see on this map, we do see the red bounding box, which simulates elevated terrain. So this is a part of the map that is actually higher than the ground level that your characters are starting at. Now, certain characters have certain abilities that allow them to ignore certain terrains, including elevated terrain or hindering terrain, which is the green bounding box. But for this video, we're going to stick with the basics, and we're just going to have normal movement. As you learn the game and become more familiar with it, we'll get into the advanced ruling. But for now, we're going to build a strong foundation on the basic rules.